Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to go over the 70-200 VR2 from Nikon. It's an AF-S lens. It's about 2 to 3 generations old, depending on how you want to count it. This lens is the previous version of the FLE lens for the DSLR F mount, and it would be 3 generations old if you count the Nikon Z 70-200S. Now, I've had this lens for about 3 years, and I love it to pieces. It's my favorite lens to use. It's probably the best bang for buck for sharpness on Nikon glass I've ever gotten. I've used this lens from anything from like auto racing, motorcycles, wildlife if it's close enough. It worked really good at the aviary. If you're within 10 to 20 feet of an animal, it's going to be amazing for that. It handles 8K video great. It handles 45 to 46 megapixel bodies great. You can use this also for some faked macro images, some flowers up close. You can use this for a portrait lens. This is like the workhorse lens that everyone should have in their camera bag when you're an aspiring photographer. Everyone needs a 70-200 lens. You can do landscapes on it. Like, the opportunities on this lens is endless. Now, 3 years ago, whenever I bought this lens, I got it for about $940, and at the time it was missing the lens foot. But the cool thing is you can replace the lens foot super easy. I got this one from Leofoto. NF200 is the part number. This comes right off, has a little clip on it. Super cool, slides back on, tighten it down, away you go. But the native foot does not have an Arca Swiss clamp rail on it. This Leofoto does, and I think it was only like 40 bucks for the foot. I don't really remember, it's been so long. Nowadays, you can look on MPB or KEH, and you can get an excellent condition used copy of this VR2 for about $850 to $900, maybe a little bit less sometimes. And with everyone dumping all the F-mount glass and flooding the market with it, the prices are going to go down even more for them probably over the years, as everyone's trying to get the new Z glass. If you buy this lens used from MPB, you get a 6-month warranty in the US, and if you buy it in Europe, you get a 12-month warranty. So pretty cool. And obviously, you can buy an extended warranty from somebody if you really, really wanted to. And we'll just walk away around this, take a look at it, see how it's made. Pros and cons, all that. Not a lot of cons. This little knob right here, you just got to loosen the knob, and then you can rotate the foot around. Pretty ridiculous, but hey, it's nice and smooth. It doesn't have any clicks in it though, so you have to line it up with the lines on here, so that if you want it to be at 90 degrees, 180 degrees, you have to line it up with the dots and lines on the lens itself, and then just tighten it down. The size of this lens is about 87 millimeters by about 205 millimeters, or about 3.5 by 8 inches, with the lens hood retracted or reversed on the lens. It weighs about 1,500 grams. Sounds like a lot, but honestly, not a whole lot. Now, on the inside of this, it is a 2.8 all the way through from 70-200, as you would expect. It's a 9-bladed rounded aperture. You get some nice bokeh on that for up-close subjects if you fill the frame. Goes all the way up to like f/22. Not that you're going to shoot f/22, but it has that ability. It is a 77mm filter thread. Obviously, that means it is a 77mm front cap. So let's reverse that around, take a look at the hood. It is your standard pedal style hood. The only negative is on the blades right here. It doesn't really sit flat on the table. So if you have the lens hood turned around, sitting on a table, it will kind of wobble all over the place. So just set it on the back cap and you'll be fine if you care. So to round out the outside of the lens, you have a couple switches here. You have an autofocus switch here for auto manual, auto override, and then just regular manual focus. I always just leave it on autofocus manual, the first little digit there. And then the next switch is your focus limiter from the full focus range or infinite to 5 meters. So if you don't want it to focus on something too close and you want something further away. Then you have your VR switch here, your image stabilization on or off. That's really it. And then on the Z cameras, whenever you turn the VR on or off on the lens, it's going to turn your IBIS on or off in the camera, not one or the other, on or off for both. And then you have the normal and active for the VR. Active, as far as I am understanding, is if you're in like a boat moving erratically and your subject's in one spot and you want the VR to help you out with that motion. Personally, I just use it on normal 99% of the time, unless I'm in my kayak, but at that point, I'm not using a 70-200, I'm using a 150-600. And this lens is 100% weather sealed. It is built like a brick house. It's all metal, it's all magnesium. It's got real nice rubber grips on it. For your zoom ring, feels real nice. It's a little loud. And then you have your manual focus ring, a little quieter. And then this top ring, that's just a grip, it doesn't actually move. And then on the back side of the lens here, where it connects to the camera body, you have a rubber gasket all the way around, and you have room on the inside for a teleconverter. Now this lens will work with any Nikon 1.4, 1.7, or 2.0 teleconverter 2.0 or newer, or version 2 or newer. It does not work with the version 1, the older ones, the first generation ones. Now you can put a teleconverter on here that's an F mount, and then put your FTZ adapter on here and then put on a Z camera. Works fine. You cannot put the FTZ adapter on and then put a Z series teleconverter on and then the camera. That will not work. Those only work on the Z lenses. Really, for the 2 seconds of cons that I have about the lens is it's a little loud whenever it's doing video, and that sound's going to feed back into any microphones that are on the camera. If you want to avoid that, just use an off-camera microphone, like I always do, or cover it up with some music. Any other sounds you've recorded before, things like that, and it'll be perform perfectly fine for your video needs. And the other thing to keep in mind for this is it only focuses within about 4.5 feet of your subject. The newer 70-200s will focus a lot closer than this will, but if you have a high megapixel camera, which are becoming cheaper and cheaper as the years go on, like I've seen a Z7 on MPB for sale for like $1,600, which some people, that's a lot of money. But whenever you're getting a landscape monster, a portrait monster that shoots 45 megapixels, that's getting pretty crazy out there. And even the D850 is getting cheap too. So if you have a high megapixel camera and you put this on here and you're 4.5 feet from a flower, you can still adequately fill the frame and get the image that you want. Worst case, you can crop a little bit in post and fill the frame that way, or switch into crop mode, DX mode, and then a 45 megapixel sensor turns into like a 20 megapixel sensor, and that's still way plenty for pretty much everyone's needs. The image stabilization on this provides about 3 stops of stabilization, and it's pretty night and day compared to using no VR and turning VR on. It's almost like it snaps that picture in perfect stillness already, and then you could really dial in like your low shutter shot of you hand holding the lens for, like, say if you have a waterfall or something like that, you can kind of get away with it. It's not terrible, it's not the best, but it's better than nothing. But another amazing thing for having VR linked with IBIS on a mirrorless camera is the lens, as it works together, will greatly improve your ability to do panning shots of racing scenes for like automotive or aircraft. So that's another good thing to think about. And with this being a 77mm filter thread, you can get some pretty decent filters without breaking the bank and screwing them on there. So you can do even lower exposures with a slower shutter speed and have a very nice shot at base ISO 64 on your Z9, Z7, D850, things like that. Now, as mentioned earlier, I have used this 70-200 VR2 F mount with the adapter on a Nikon Z body. I have the Nikon FTZ2 right here for the Z9, and it works great. It's literally the same adapter as the version 1 FTZ. The only difference is ergonomics, which I really appreciate. We'll put this on there so you can see what it looks like. Now you got the adapter on. Adds about an inch to about 26 mils on there. And then, you know, put your Z camera on there. As you can see, there is no giant, you know, lens foot down here for the FTZ. That way, whenever you have it on the camera and you're using the camera, the adapter doesn't have the lens foot, doesn't get in the way of holding this foot. So if you want to hold the lens foot like this, that's not going to get in your way. And whenever you mount this on your tripod, that little, you know, bump isn't going to get in the way. So really, the FTZ1 should just not be used by anybody, in my opinion. If you're serious and you're out there shooting all the time, upgrade to the FTZ2 just for the ergonomics sake. Now this lens has a little bit of focus breathing, but that's not going to ruin anything. Most overblown, junky thing anyone's ever complained about. It does have a little bit of distortion at 2.8 that gets kind of fixed out about 5.6. But then again, all of your editing programs will remove that distortion, that pincushion effect, if you use the profile for the lens. And then all the Nikon cameras, the Zs, already have most of the profiles in the camera, so it self-corrects. There's no point in me spending almost $3,000 for a 70-200Z when this does exactly the same thing. The autofocus is just as quick. It's just like, you're not going to notice that big of a difference. So for what I do, this is the bee's knees. But yeah, as mentioned, I did shoot this with some film on the Nikon F100. I shot this with the D500. I shot this with the Z7 II, and now with the Z9. So here in a second, we're going to go through some little categories on examples from photo and video from this lens. Once I replace all my other lenses with Z glass, I'm probably just going to keep this and have the adapter permanently on it forever. So if you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, comment down below what you think of this second or third gen 70-200, how it's treated you, what you think of the image quality, etc. And, well, I'll see you out there. Happy shooting.